This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by my CRE Accelerator Mastermind, where you'll get access to my step-by-step investment blueprint, essentially a library of resources on how to invest in commercial real estate. You'll get connected to a supportive community of other commercial real estate investors that are doing projects just like you. You'll get personalized coaching and feedback from me every step of the way. Go to www.crecentral.com to learn more. Welcome back to 30 Deals in 30 Days. Today is day 30. It is our last day underwriting 30 deals in a row. If you have been enjoying the challenge, it's going to keep going. The chat will still be open. The portal will still be open. However, after today, access to the course, access to my spreadsheets, access to the AI, and obviously me underwriting your deals is going to go away. You're welcome to join the mastermind and dive further into that with me on your deals that you're actively doing. Happy to help you underwrite those and acquire them. I mean, the average member of our mastermind closes their first deal in 9 months. That's because they get to work with me, right? Otherwise, you guys are welcome to keep tuning in to office hours. We will still be live streaming. We just won't be underwriting nearly as much. Today, we are going to be diving into an interesting one here. And I say it's interesting because even though I haven't looked at it yet, I know it's going to be fun. Amanda's jumping into the chat. She's saying, hi, Tyler. I know this is coming into the 11th hour, but we finally have a deal to submit. I would love to get your take on this property, especially on the highest and best use based on how the buildings are laid out. I'm thinking light industrial warehouse as there are new flex space units for lease just south of this property. Here is the key information. Looks like we're going to, cool, Colorado. I don't know if we've underwritten anything in Colorado. I know, Z, last day. It is our last day. We'll make it fun, though. We'll have a good time. All right, Wellington, Colorado, just north of Fort Collins. Property borders a developing business park located off a frontage road along Interstate 25, which is a major north-south route through Colorado. Area continues to see strong commercial growth. Listing price $795, bank-owned. Interesting. I wonder why. Lot size 2 acres, building 5,600 square foot warehouse pole building. 2880 square foot shop with 14-foot door previously used for manufacturing agricultural implements by the owner. The buildings have never been rented and there is no tenant history. Yeah, Amanda, you really did some work on this one. Electric, 3 200 amp panels, water and sewer. So now you can at least split it into 3 tenants, which is nice. Needs to disconnect from residential lines and tie into city infrastructure and purchase water shares. Funny enough, we just had David Katz, who's a member of the Brokers Mastermind, on the podcast 2 hours ago, talking about buying and selling water rights. Not a thing that I have to deal with being here in Nashville. Let's see. Based on the new water and sewer taps, Colorado requires the purchase of water shares. Estimated cost $170,000 to $189,000. Buildings were built to residential code. Ooh, that's not good. Commercial code is very different. And they will need to be updated to commercial code. No insulation in either building, and there are some observed roof leaks. Only 1 bathroom in the larger warehouse, and it needs renovation. Oh, man, I'm going to tell you, this sounds like it should almost just be a teardown. Estimated cost about $10,000. Assumed other improvements needed, $20 a square foot for $170,000. We will need to shore up improvement costs. I can tell you right off the bat, that is going to be very, very, very short. If these buildings are not to commercial code, they don't have insulation, they need bathrooms and plumbing and all that kind of stuff. Essentially what you're starting with is a shell. And you're probably going to be spending anywhere from, I would assume, $40 on the low end, upwards of probably $75 a foot. If you think about everything that's going to have to go in there. But I haven't seen the buildings yet. Maybe I will be surprised. James is saying, dude, buddy, finish line. We're there. We're practically there. Kevin, final rep. I'm locked day 30. Kevin, thanks for joining us, man. Hope you had a wonderful birthday yesterday. All right. Let's see what we've got going on here. Okay, $795, 173 days on market. Not terrible. 2 acres, dock high doors, 14 feet. Oh, this is just some dude's house that he built some sheds on. Okay. Okay. Yeah, okay, probably not a teardown. Not nearly as bad as we were thinking. Still probably going to be more than $20 a foot to get all this dried in. You see, so we got concrete floors. That's great, except for we only have one bathroom, which means that if we're going to split this into multiple tenants, we've got 3 electrical services. We could go to 3 tenants. We'll need to add 2 bathrooms. This is just very odd to me. With it being like, are you gonna rent these spaces and then some dude's home is just right there? I wonder if does it include the home? Doesn't seem like it does. Brokers haven't done a good job showing me what it is. All right. 5,600 square foot manufacturing building, 2,880 square foot shop with 14-foot overhead doors, 600 amps of power. So 3 200 amp panels, heated warehouse with a restroom, outside storage. Yeah, so it seems like they're splitting this off from the house that's there. Flood risk, none. Fire risk, pretty high. 20% chance of being in a wildfire in the next 30 years. That's kind of interesting that they could see that. Jam, what's going on, my friend? Time flies. 30 days came too soon. I can't believe it's already been 30 days, to be honest with you guys. Okay, so they listed it originally in May for $875. They've already dropped it $80,000. So they've had no interest in this building. Very interesting. Decent household income. I like that. Let's go to 5 miles. Yeah, decent household income. I like that. Population is trending upwards. I like that. Age demographics, 37. That's decent. I don't really know what's bad, but I can tell you this. If the average age was 55, that's probably not an area you'd want to be. And if the average age was 14, that's probably bad too. Maybe 30s and 40s, trending closer to 30s. Number of employees, 30,000. That's pretty decent. 1 renter per every 5 homeowners. All right. Interesting area. Seems like a decent spot. Let's pull this address up and see what is going on. Oh, right next to a brewery. It's always a pro. 12 reviews. Come on, if you're going to Deppen Brewing, let's step it up. These guys need some reviews. All right. Zooming out, I'm not seeing a whole lot of anything. All right, Fort Collins. Okay, so we're basically straight north of Denver. Looks like we got some neighborhoods all around us. And then just a bunch of fields. So this kind of seems like just a pop-up area. I wonder why things decided to pop up here. Taco Bell, Taco John's, McDonald's. So this is downtown. This is just suburbia. Okay. A pretty good feel about the area now. Let's dive in, see what's going on closer to the building. It looks relatively new. They didn't say on Crexy, I wonder if they say it on the flyer, how old the building is. Oh. If nothing else, I hope you guys have taken away what brokers should be doing on for sale listings. That that flyer doesn't tell me anything. Yeah, it's some pretty pictures. All right. Let's see what else we got here. Some vents. It's a nice fence. That's a nicer, these seem like nicer neighborhoods. Is that the bed of the trailer of an 18-wheeler? mean, cool little brewery. Looks like this is a pretty major road. We like that. Okay. Whale. Dirt road. Some dude's house. I mean, at least you got the trees there. I guess that's separating it. Let's go check it out on Landglide. See what they've got to say about it. Okay, look at that. That's very interesting. You have a shared drive. It seems with the house. I wonder if whoever had this house owned this at one time, but it's clearly parceled off, so they only have the current owner. Market value 124. That's why I never give any credence to tax appraised values. They don't, it might give you the ballpark, but they haven't even been able to sell this for $795. So, okay, built in 2001 is what this is saying. 8480 square feet. I wonder. Yeah, seems close. 8480 square feet. Let's look at the different layers we can throw on here. All right, topo, no lines, so it's pretty flat. Flood zone, nope. Contours, nope. It's all good stuff. Look at that. Whoever FC Farm Holdings. Man. State of Colorado. You got some pretty big owners over here. Okay. Well, I've got a pretty good idea of what's going on in the area. Let's see. Got some nearby comps. Man, they're making my job easy. I like it. All right, $13 to $15 a foot, triple net. 1,559 days on market, though. One thing I will say is that when you are looking at these 4 lease listings, this can actually be pretty tough to go by because, like I've had buildings that have been on there for 5-10 years because we have so many suites, you've almost always got one vacant. And so you just keep the listing up. So that doesn't necessarily mean anything bad. So this is nicer than what we'd be looking at. A lot nicer. That's fully built out. Looks like they might have taller ceilings. Concrete floors, got a mezzanine. Okay. So that was 13 to 15 triple net. Daniel was saying, hey, Tyler, I'm Amanda's husband. Yes. Hey, Amanda's husband. Yes, the homeowner was foreclosed on and lost the buildings and the 1 acre parcel to the east, but still living in the home. Interesting. Okay. Well, that's some good background knowledge there. All right, $12 a foot for this comp. Also triple net, ceiling height 19 feet. How high were our ceilings? 14. See, that's going to make a big difference. 14's nice. Don't get me wrong. 18 and 19 would be better. See how they've got stone on the exterior? I mean, that'd be one thing really nice to do. Got a loading dock here. The colors are nicer. This is just visually more appealing. Yeah, those look like really tall ceilings. This looks like brand new construction, available in 2024. Okay. So that is brand new construction. Looks like they were building out the bath. That's so that they don't have to pour concrete and then tear it all out for bathrooms. They'll put the bathrooms wherever and then finish pouring concrete. So kind of a build to suit-ish type of deal going on here. Let's see what they have to say about it. Is that the same team? Looks like it. 20,000 square feet total, 3-phase power. That's pretty important. That makes a big difference for these types of tenants. See if they've got a brochure. See what this brochure says. All right, look at that. Triple net expenses, $5.50 a foot. That's why I love doing this. You just go into, what everybody else is offering, and they'll tell you. It's very easy to learn. So they have 1 unit remaining. Looks like they've leased all the other ones. It's been a year. Looks like a big unit, though. And I would assume since they have an elevated loading dock, they're probably trying to keep this as one big tenant. I think that's a mistake. They could have had it leased already. Okay. Let's see what other comps we got. Z is saying, are you buying anything in Texas or have any clients in Texas? Yes, Z. We are working on a 300,000 square foot flex space development in Texas right now. Aiming to announce that in January. Although I guess I kind of did. But it didn't because you don't know any details about it. So not announced yet. All right, Buttercup Drive. $15 a foot triple net. Nice concrete parking lot. Yeah, I mean, guys, here's the thing. In order to get up to, in order to really treat these as comps, you're going to have to spend easily $70 a foot, right? Just getting it up to speed. So, I mean, think about this. Look at that landscaping. You've got concrete. You've got a concrete drive. Let's see, islands. You got parking lot lighting. Stone on the exterior. You've got awnings. Even a little landscaping around the building. I think you're spending every bit of $70 a foot if you want to finish it out and get it up to this level. Every bit of it. And that's so that we can get $15 a foot. I mean, these comps are kind of in that $13 to $15 a foot range. So that's how I'm going to underwrite it. Let's look at it as, hey, if these are our comps, how much are we going to have to spend in order for us to get it to where we need it to be? All right, let's dig in. I like this area, though. Those are really great-looking flex buildings. All right, so we've got 5,880 square feet. No, 5,600 and 2,880. $8,480 square feet total. You've got a purchase price of $795. Capitalized rehab. If we're doing $70 a foot, maybe that's 500 grand. A little bit more. A little bit more. All right, that'll do it. Now, if you think about where we're spending $600,000 on this flex building, right? These are both basically shells. So, I mean, if we look at this, let's pull this up here real quick. I mean, look at that. It's got a concrete pad out front. You don't have any concrete anywhere else. There's no other parking. This is basically set up for one tenant. There's a little asphalt right there. There's some asphalt. Okay. It's not terrible. But the problem with this asphalt is, there's a reason that in a lot of these areas they are doing the concrete. It lasts a lot longer. It's far more durable than asphalt is because you'll have trucks that are heavy. And if you get heavy trucks starting to drive over this all the time, it's going to tear that asphalt right up, and you're going to be spending a bunch of money repairing it and fixing it all the time. Now, if you look on the interiors, look at that. Like Amanda said, no insulation on the roof or over here. It sounds like the roof is leaking. Maybe now's the time to just go ahead and replace the entire roof. If it's 20 years old, I would expect a full roof replace. It's going to be the easiest thing to do. while it's in this condition. You don't want to have to go back and do that after tenants are already occupying it. Looks like the walls are partially furred out for the most part, so relatively easy to get up in there, frame out the rest of it, put some insulation in there, run your electrical through it. Maybe you do that on the exterior. I don't know. Exterior of the walls, not exterior of the building. But you're going to have to spend a whole bunch of money to get this up to where it needs to be. The good news is you're buying it for, well, actually that's bad news. It's not worth $94 a foot. I'll tell you that right now. The condition that it's in, it's probably a $75 a foot building, which is why they haven't been able to sell it. So $75 a foot times 8480. It's worth probably $636,000. So, I mean, you're basically having to put in almost as much into the rehab to get this up to spec as you would, which makes sense. These buildings, for about a 10,000 square foot building, would cost you roughly $1.1 to $1.3 million to build if you're going ground up, including the land. So we're actually not far off from that cost. Maybe we could do this a little bit cheaper if you've got the right contractors, the right approach. But those comps that we saw were kind of nice. Like, even if it is lick and stick veneer rock, like, you still got to do rock, right? All right, closing costs, maybe closer to $35,000. Oh, we'll drop it down further. $27,500. All right, 25% down, 7% interest. Fortunately, sorry, Kevin, we're not in Barbados anymore, so we don't have to do a 15-year amortization. We'll do a 20. I'm going to assume that we're going to get $13 a foot net to start. And note how on, which one was it? This one. These are all leased, and this came on last year. So if we do these smaller units, there's a pretty good chance we're going to get them all leased. This big one, I was going to sit there for a little bit. I was just going to. It's too big. So I'm going to assume our lease up is going to be done in about 12 months. We have members of the mastermind who have gotten their deals leased up in under 60 days from delivery because they marketed them right. There's a lot of demand for this type of product if you know how to go out and market it right. So what I will say, I'm gonna do 50% vacancy for the first year. Now, in my head, just so you guys understand why I'm doing 50%, but I said, hey, we're going to have this fully stabilized after a year, is because if we have 4 tenants, four, because you've got 3 electrical services on the one building and then that other smaller building. I'm going to assume 4 tenants. If we were going to do that, and I lease one space every 3 months for a full year, that ends up effectively being a 50% occupancy rate. So we'll just run with that for now. Okay. So this, we could drop it down. We're not going to really need it because we're going triple net. We saw that everything is triple net. All of my leasing commissions are going to be stacked in the first year. They're going to be 6%. I'm going to do this equals that times, and I'm just going to go ahead and run it on the full lease value. There's a 5-year total for the rents. So that first year, I'm going to have my leasing commissions fully stacked in there, right? So first year is going to look rough. So we're going to have a whole lot of expenses. We never hit our debt service coverage ratio. Something to keep in mind. What if I'm able to get 15? I would hope so if I'm going to invest $600,000. We hit it in year 2.5. That's better. Really what we would like to see. I told you guys this is worth $636,000. The underwriting is about to prove that. So we've dropped it to 650, and we're now hitting our debt service coverage ratio in year 2. Now, there's still room in there, really. The bank may say, no, we're not going to do that. We'll compromise at 700. So $83 a foot, you're still going to hit your debt service coverage ratio the second year. That's really what you want. You want to hit that DSCR the second year if you're doing some sort of major value add, or development can be a little bit different. It depends on when you're planning on delivering everything. All right. So let's just assume you're able to knock off, what is that, $95,000 off the purchase price? It should be it should be cheaper than 700 in my opinion. But we'll go with 700. All right, let's assume, Daniel, that you and Amanda are going to syndicate this deal. So you're going to charge a 2% asset management fee, capital reserves at 50 cents a square foot. I think that is aggressive, considering the fact that we are coming in here and we're spending so much money getting this building right on the front end that I am going to add in 25 cents a foot in reserves instead. We'll keep 30% for ourselves, which means we're selling 70% to investors. And look at that, not really exciting on the cash flow front. But I wonder if this is a flip, right? Considering its size and kind of how wonky it is, you might be able to get a 7.5, but it's probably going to be closer to an 8% cap rate. Let's just see how it plays out. Value at the end of the day is $1,743,000 in year 5, and we only make 55% on our money, or roughly 11% annualized cash on cash. Not super exciting. There's a couple of things that we can do to help boost that. One is to reduce our principal reduction in year 1. If I negotiate with the bank to have 12 months of interest only, considering how much work needs to be done to this space, then I don't have to pay that principal that year. That might help with my cash flow. If I feel pretty good about our expenses, I think they kind of are where they are. We definitely can't get more than $15 a foot. All the comps are showing that. I mean, the only other thing to work on is the price. We get it down to 675. Debt service coverage ratio, we're still hitting that, so things are still good. Now we're at 71% on our money, or 14% annualized cash on cash. Still not quite there. Now, you could say, well, Tyler, the $600,000 in capitalized rehab is high. And I would agree with you, but I'm telling you, I know people that are building this from the ground up, including the land, for 1.2 to 1.3 million. Coming in after the fact and having to deal with some stuff that's already existing is going to complicate things a little bit, right? Most contractors would prefer to just build from the ground up, especially with as large of a scope as what's going to be here. But let's say, hey, we're willing to go for $500,000, right? Maybe we can make it work at that. We're still $120,000 under asking, right? Keep that in mind. It's a big, big drop. Debt service coverage ratio still looks good, all right? Our cash on cash returns to the investors are decent. I mean, 8%, they like that. Now we're doubling our money, right? So if you can keep the budget for the construction under $500,000, if you can get the building for, what did I say, $675,000? Yep. And you can lease up to stabilization in the first year, then the deal works. Then it makes a lot of sense, right? And, you guys should be able to do it relatively quickly, I would think, considering how the market is looking. Now, the next steps that I would do, Daniel and Amanda, is I would go out and I'd start talking to brokers and figuring out, what's like. I would especially talk to those brokers who have those comp listings that you pulled, and see what their thoughts are on the market, how quickly these units are moving, how quickly they think they could get tenants into your space if you decided to buy it, and what all it will take, right? What that build out needs to look like. They can actually direct you as to how intense you need to build out this space, so that maybe they can help you save a little bit on the budget. Who knows, right? But I wouldn't be surprised if you have to drop $500,000 on that. I know that sounds a lot higher than what y'all were initially expecting, but you're also having to buy these water rights. Like, I don't know, maybe it actually needs to be higher if you're having to buy water rights. I'd be curious. I don't know much about buying water rights, So I would want to know, is that because you're changing it to commercial use? I mean, I would assume so, which means you're bringing it up to commercial code. There's probably some other additional requirement there for that specifically. But yeah, I mean, look, if we go back and we bake in another $170,000 to buy water rights, that really starts to change it. All right. I mean, I feel good about our $500,000, but now I've got to go back up to 670 to include my water rights. Well, we hit our debt service coverage ratio in year 2. Cash flow to the investors not so hot. 55% return again. We dropped. Now, if you're able to get a 7.25% cap rate instead, that could really help. It gave us like 10%. Not too exciting. 12% annualized cash on cash return. My argument to the bank would be, hey, this isn't technically a commercial property. We can't pay a premium for it. It's worth $636,000, just like Tyler said when he underwrote this live on YouTube. Let's see what that ends up looking like. 1.31. It's probably, I mean, this is actually going to say you should offer less. 4 to 6%. Now we're at 70% cash on cash over the 5-year period, roughly 14% per year. It's just tough to make it work with how much work needs to get done. Now, let's say, hey, we still need the $170,000, but we're willing to not make the place as nice as the comps so that we can save some money. Well, the problem is if you start to do that, now we're looking at, I mean, let's just say it is $500,000, right? And that includes your $170 to buy the water rights. But because of that, you're only able to get $13 a foot. Will the deal still pencil? You hit your debt service coverage ratio in year 2. It's actually higher, so that's good. Our cash on cash return, only slightly higher, which is very exciting. And we boosted our returns by 5%. Right? We dropped our construction budget, right? We cut that out and thought, hey, maybe since we're cutting that out, you know, we'll save some money, juice the returns. But keep in mind, we have to drop our rents because of that. Tenants just aren't going to pay. You know, just because your construction budget's lower doesn't mean that tenants are still going to pay $15 a foot. I wonder what happens if we bring 35% down. Debt service coverage ratio screams, as it should. You have 35% down. Your cash on cash returns go up, and your overall returns go down. So I think the big thing that's going to kill this deal is the water rights. I do think that it could still work. Maybe you could negotiate for a 20% down payment. And if that's the case, maybe this will work. You're not going to hit your debt service coverage ratio, so it doesn't matter. A bank wouldn't let you do that. They're going to say, no, we need you to hit at least 125 in year 2. You might be able to say, well, you know, we're kind of hitting it with that. So 21% down. Cash on cash gets up to 6%. And then we're at 72% cash on cash returns. Now, in my opinion, it's not worth trying to squeeze blood from a turnip and make this deal work. If I was going to make this work, it all comes down to the offer. I think that we're spending $670,000. I really do. I mean, if you're having to buy water rights, you're having to put $500,000 in this building to make it worth anything. Let's see what it looks like at 575. Keep in mind, that's still $68 a foot. That's pretty good for what this building is. We're talking about a vacant pole barn. Bring 25% back down. Doesn't work. Oh, wait, we got to raise our rents. I forgot that we changed that. Got to keep this stuff in mind, guys. Debt service coverage ratios, we hit it year 2. We look good. Now that's really good looking. Upwards of 7% cash on cash by year 5, and we're almost doubling our money. So now we're actually in the ball field, right? At that point is when this deal really starts to work, right? So we're talking $575,000 at $68 a foot. I really don't think that I would offer any more than that. There's too much that you have to do to this building to get it up to speed. Because, before a tenant could even legally occupy it, right? Daniel's saying the water allocation depends on the use, but it'll be anywhere from 30 to 60K according to the city planner. So, okay. Well, if it's not 170, and now we're down to 30 or 60K, then let's say it's 560,000 for your total capitalized rehab. So I'm including the water rights purchase as well as your rehab in that. Now at 575,000, we're doubling our money, right? Then it works. So, we could even probably go up to, this is kind of how I always do it. I always look at that and go, oh, okay, so my ideal purchase is 575. Ooh, whoops. But I can go up to 600 still works, right? So maybe even 625 if your total construction budget, including the purchase of the water rights, is 560. Now, that's assuming these terms are right. That's assuming the rent terms are right. But at that point, that's the lowest. That's the lowest I'd go. We're doubling our money over a 5-year period. So this was a fun one. That was a good one to end 30 deals in 30 days on. Guys, thanks for joining me. Always a pleasure hanging out with y'all. While the access to the course and everything else will end today, like I said, I'm still going to be here live streaming. We're still going to be making the YouTube videos. If you choose not to join the mastermind, we'll be here. You'll still be able to jump in and ask your questions, just not on a daily basis, Maybe I get to rest on weekends now. Anyways, cheers. Appreciate you all for joining me, and we will see y'all in the next one.